Hi guys! In today's video, we'll be making this Sally Nightmare Before Christmas inspired doll repaint. This is not meant to be an exact copy, it's an inspired piece, and since I did it on a Monster High doll, the proportions of the doll is obviously going to be a bit off, but I do hope you enjoy my take on the character. I used the Monster High Frankie doll as the base for this project since it seemed the most fitting. Like most of my dolls, this was bought second hand, so I can't tell you how old she is. We'll be doing quite a lot of modification to the doll's head, but the first thing I did was remove all the hair. After that, I used some Acetone nail polish remover to remove the factory paint so we can see the face sculpt clearly. I sketched out where the hairline and top of the head was gonna go, before taking my Acetone knife and starting to carve away some of the features to make them a bit smaller. I mainly carved at the lips and the nose. Once you're happy with the features of the face, you want to start filing away the surface to make it smooth. I used an electric file, but you can also use a hand file. Next, we're going to cut away the top of the head. This is because Sally has practically no forehead, and also the top of her head is very flat. Once the top of the head has been removed, we're going to make her a new top of the head in the form of a wig cap. So you're going to fill the head up using tin foil. I used a few pieces of masking tape to keep the tinfoil in place inside the head. Then I covered the head with a piece of kitchen film, following by a piece of black stretchy fabric, which is going to be the base for the wig cap. Add 2 to 3 layers of glue and spread it out on top of the wig cap to make it stiffen up. Once the wig cap is firm enough, you want to cut away the excess fabric, and this is essentially her new skull. Now for the hair, I used this brown acrylic yarn, which I combed out and straightened into doll hair. I've shown this in previous videos, which I'll link you to in the cards. I'm aware that Sally is supposed to have reddish hair, but I couldn't find any yarn in a reddish tone, so I settled for this brown one. If you want, you can glue the hair into wefts, which makes it a little easier to handle, but I chose to just glue the hair straight onto the wig cap to save some time. Once you got a full head of hair, you want to comb it out and then cover it with a piece of kitchen film to make it lay flat. And that's the wig done. Now you can put it aside. Next, I marked off where the stitches on her face was gonna go. I warmed up a needle tool with a wooden handle so I wouldn't burn myself on the edge of a lighter and used this to melt the holes into the face. Once you got all the holes made, you want to cleanse the face and then prime it with the Mr. Super Clear spray. Then I started the repaint using my watercolor pencils, chalk pastels, and a bit of white acrylic paint. Firstly, I used a chalk pastel to slightly tint the skin tone. The original doll is a greenish tone and I want it to be more pale blue. When I was happy with the basic skin tone, I sealed it in with the Mr. Super Clear spray to keep it sealed, and then I started working on top, sketching on the eyes. The proportions of the character is pretty weird. She has very big eyes and very small pupils, so I did my best to try and translate this onto this doll head. I used the watercolor effect of my white pencil to make the base for the eyes. I started by marking out the lips with a pencil, but then I realized that it was on top of the part that had filed and it wasn't completely smooth, so it was kind of hard to fill it in with a pencil. Therefore I chose to use the watercolor effect of it and do it with a brush, which made a slightly smoother result. After marking out the scars or slits on her face, I sealed in my progress with the Mr. Superclear spray again and then worked on top. I lost my patience with my white pencil and switched to some white acrylic paint and added a few thin layers of that to get the opacity in the eyes. Whenever I'm doing something inspired by a character like this, I always have some reference photos to look at so I can choose which features I'm going to focus on. I used black and blue pastels for shading on the face to keep it in the proper tones, and then some more white for highlights. When I could no longer build up any more colors, I sealed the doll again and then repeated the same steps on top. I used the watercolor effect of my black pencil to define the lines around the eyes and also the pupils, but you could also use acrylic paint. When I was happy with the face, I sealed it in a final time. Then I took some embroidery thread in a tone pretty close to the skin tone and used this to stitch up the face. And this was honestly the weirdest thing I've ever done to a doll. And here she is, all stitched up. Then I used some black embroidery thread and glued this onto the eyelids for the eyelashes. After that I added glaze to the eyes. And that's the face done. Now we're gonna put it aside and work on the dress. I used a spare Monster High dress which I had lying around, cut the two pieces apart to use as a base for my pattern. Then sketch the pieces onto some paper, adjust the straps and add length to the bottom. So here we have our front and back templates. I traced them onto some simple unbleached cotton and added seam allowance at the sides before cutting them out. Once you have your pieces cut out, sew the two back pieces together at the bottom half and then sew the back to the front. Now put it on your doll and close the back with pins. Now you can sketch on the different sections that the doll's dress is going to be divided into. Once it was all divided, I used some alcohol markers to map out which piece was going to be what color, and then I started cutting out the pieces. Once the pieces are cut out, trace them onto new fabric and add seam allowance. Then color them the right colors. I use the alcohol markers and then draw on the details. Then start sewing the pieces together. I laid them out like this so I could look at them kind of like a puzzle, so I wouldn't lose track of where the pieces was gonna go. And here's the basic pieces assembled. I left the back open since I will be stitching it on the doll, but you can close it with Velcro. Finally, add the sleeves. As the final detail, I took some more embroidery thread in black and used this to make the stitch detail in between each section. And then the dress is all ready. Then I gave the body the same treatment as the face by removing the factory paint with acetone, spraying it with Mr. Super Clear and then using some chalk pastel to change the tone. After sealing the colors in with the Mr. Super Clear spray again, I applied the dress, stitched it in place, and then I glued on small pieces of the black embroidery thread to be the stitches on the body. Finally, I used some black acrylic paint to cover the doll's original shoes, which were blue, and then I sealed it in with a bit of Mod Podge. Now we can put it all together and the doll is done. Some of you requested a little recap at the end of the video before the final reveal, so here's the original doll and here's the finished project. I really hope you guys enjoyed this project. It was really challenging for me, but it was a lot of fun. If there's any other characters you'd like to see me make into dolls, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in a new one real soon. Bye!